This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president of Palamina Corp, Mr. Andrew Thomson. Andrew, how are you this morning?
Very good, Gerardo. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to the summer doldrums coming to an end. We have Little League for the boys starting soon. The kids are back in school, and hopefully people get back to their desks and get back to work. Tough markets in the junior resource space, but a great time to get some work done.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just started flying our Kawasa property. It's sort of our flagship, and the purpose of the flight, really, we're flying at 125 meter spacings, is to really get a handle on the structures. In our last press release, we announced a series of chip samples that were fairly good results, and again, with chip samples, we had a 39 gram per ton gold and a 4.2 meters of 7 grams. Again, these are samples where we're chipping quartz in a series, so we're not really establishing any volume in the sense that we're just chipping away at the exposure to see if we can find mineralization. And those are, as good as it gets. And so now we've done a channel sampling program across those, and we're just compiling results. But again, they're looking encouraging, and where the flying of the property gets interesting is, the gold occurs with pyrrhotite. So we should be able to, layer these things and see structure. And we've already got a fairly good idea because we're above the tree line. So, I really feel that we're at the cusp of a major discovery here, in the sense that Crucero, which is a deposit within our the shear zones that we're looking at, demonstrates volume. And again, that deposit we feel is sub-economic and will require a higher gold price. But really what it amounts to is this, nobody's flown this property, and, I think it can get exciting relatively quickly.
Excellent. You mentioned the discovery at Kawasa, and I'd like to get into a little bit more detail about how you're following that up. I know drilling is still a bit away. We're probably looking early next year, but there's a lot of very important field work between now and then, including the fact that you're flying it right now. What else is going to go into delineating targets? Because you have these 5 district scale land packages. Kawasa appears to be the flagship right now. Can we talk about the work going into the projects to outline targets?
Well, at Kawasa, the one thing we have initiated is environmental permitting and drill permitting. And again, there's the rainy season coming up. So, we expect to see drill permitting and environmental permitting completed in the next 6 months. We're also going for a DIA, which is a more extended permit. It allows us 40 drill pads from which we can drill as many holes as we'd like. So we're going for the permit that, with the rainy season, we realized that, it makes more sense to go for the more complete permit. It's a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, we feel it's the proper way to go, so we don't have any stops and starts. And at the end of the day, we're also doing a 43-101. So we expect to put the channels, chips, and flight information into that, so that we have a cohesive report where people can see what we've done to date, and where it's going in terms of leading to discovery. But really, these are all the systems that we're looking at are structurally controlled. At Kawasa, we have visible gold. There's visible gold discoveries that have been made. Again, these have not been mined by Incas, Spanish, Peruvians to date, in terms of the new areas we're looking at. So, and they're starting to show some size. The latest chip sample zone was 300 by 400 meters. Those are fairly, that could be an entire district if we can get the right results at depth. Again, we have no third dimension at this stage, so it's very early stages. So we're really going to spend the next 6 months building our database and doing more sampling to see how big we can make it. And so in this latest round of channel sampling, we've actually gone into a new zone that we acquired that we're looking at. So we'll have results from that. And then also the Fusca zone. So we've been talking about the Veta zone, which is veins in Spanish, but the Fusca zone, which is in the main shear on the property, the guys are out there now expanding the channel sampling there to get a better idea what's going on there. So once we've covered these 2 areas, we've got a total of 9 anomalous zones off this shear zone that look, the main shear zone, the Fusca shear zone, that look pretty exciting. So, really it's, when we get the airborne data, we'll be able to follow some of these trends. So it really is a matter at this point of pinpointing the best areas for drilling. But up until, the most recent channel sampling, we still weren't certain whether we wanted to go drilling. Now we're sort of concluded that we do. So this is the reason for the 43-101 and all the permitting.
Excellent. Now, having 5 district scale land packages, I have to imagine that you're going to entertain the possibility of maybe joint venturing a few of these projects. Would that be accurate, Andrew?
Yeah, we've got a fair amount of interest. The recent press release, we also announced that we're flying our Gaban and Corp properties, and those are aligned in the sense that we feel that they're in the same structure, and they just sit above Madre de Dios, and we're flying at different line spacings on those particular properties. But again, at Gaban, we've got alluvial gold in the mainstream where we control 85% of the watershed. And at Corey, there's 1,200 informal mining over a 3-kilometer strike length. So we've both got alluvial and hard rock miners on both properties. As part of what I call the Peruvian gold rush, those groups are out there mining as we speak. So again, by flying that area, and again, it's about 37,000 hectares, sorry. We'll get a very good idea of what the structures are based on the fact that the gold is associated with pyrrhotite. So again, we're the first to fly it. None of that area has been drilled. There's active mining taking place, and it sits above 700 square miles of alluvial deposits that feed it. The feeder system is a portion of it, at least, is from these areas. So, we're very excited, and that's drawing a lot of attention because there are all sorts of other companies doing geophysical programs where they're looking at, I would say, anomalous values or structures that should contain gold or models that work. Here, we've actually got the physical gold being mined. So it's a pretty unique, as I like to say, we're doing shadow head frame exploration without the head frame.
Well, I know that with the geophysical surveys, you're downloading the data at frequent intervals, so you're not actually having to wait till the survey's complete. So that's got to help with target delineation, especially if you're entertaining conversations with potential suitors on the property. How were you able to make that work, and how often are you downloading this data? Is it a daily thing?
Well, they just started flying yesterday, so we just got the login to look at the data, and I haven't had a chance to go on, so it's pretty new for me. But the concept, really, from a macro point of view, is it's pretty exciting. It's a bit like getting 1 or 2 assays, and if they're positive, it becomes more exciting. But really, we've got our own ideas as to where these structures occur, and with the guys in the field, we can direct them to different areas, using sat phone or even just cell phone. So we're in a position now where we can structure some of the sampling that's going on to try and follow up on some of these new areas. And, again, it just, as it was, I put in my quote, the pace of discovery changes. And, we've had good results. So it's one of these rare situations where when you have good results and you get data in that can be used, it's really more about energizing the troops. So we're finding that our guys are really quite encouraged by the results we're seeing, and it's nice to have good results and to be able to, move it forward in a more responsible way, probably is what I would say in terms of the scientific data that we're getting. So, the fact that these guys already found a deposit at Oyachea, understand the mineralogy, did 81 kilometers of drilling. This sort of data, even though, people sort of, I think with the airborne, it will really add to it. The other thing that we're doing is we've got a camera mounted on the helicopter, so we're getting video feed as well. So, it may sound a little silly, but, when you get that aerial view, even over Google Earth, it gives you a different perspective. Again, I've yet to log in, but these are, this is, again, game-changing stuff in terms of what modern-day exploration offers. And, as I like to say, your next big deposit might be over the next hill, and if you can see it with geophysics and a camera, you might find it faster. So that's really what it amounts to.
Absolutely. You got to do the work before the discovery. So it's good to hear that there's a lot of progress on that front. Andrew, I look forward to having you back on as some of those results start trickling in. I appreciate the time. Anything else that you'd like to add today?
No, I think just that Peru is starting to show some signs of life. The new president is pro-mining, and again, he was up in Canada, so he's a known entity in the sense that we have a good idea of what he's all about. And we think that the boom that's going on in Ecuador is going to extend itself into Peru, and we're starting to see real signs of it.
Good stuff, Andrew. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you, Gerardo.